For me, I like to really stay focused on the story and the themes of the film. I like to try and do that instinctively.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Want some tea? Or you have tea?
I brought my own. Thank you.
Good. So you must be very tired.
Not too bad. I was in Asia anyway, so I'm not jet lagged.
Now how about Yeah, we start. Yeah. We start already. Fine. Don't worry.
战争片的一个新鲜体验，不是一个传统意义上的战争片。
拍得很好，有一个很大的问题。
很有脑洞，小有智商。我们都被这个画面给吸引住了。
这片子更像 game， 就是你是进去的。
对对对。
你那时候真觉得自己是飞行员。
Stand at 11 o'clock. He's on me.
但你说诺兰的非常独特的控制性呢？它的控制性过强，当然会导致会有一个很好的结果，但也导致了，就是我们想看到的更意外的东西没有出现嘛。你是特别挺诺兰的是吧？
肯定打3分吧。
那你比如你们分析分析，就是他成为一个就是那种所谓的上神坛那样的啊，后面那个整个的社会心理原因是什么呢？
他的2大方法，一个就是他的叙事，在技术方面他很成功；第二个方法就是哲学。比如说，在这个黑暗骑士，就是在2艘船上，一帮是正常的市民，一个是囚犯，让他们互相拿着这个遥控器可以引爆对方的船只。他其实就是把这样一个哲学史上著名的电车难题拉过来，在讲思想，在讲观念，给你植入一个概念，这样的话给观众的体验是焕然一新的。就很多导演他拍的那种想表达哲学的电影，非常小众、晦涩、深奥，看着就容易睡着的那种。但是诺兰，我从来没有感受过电影原来有这样的功能。可能在这方面，我觉得诺兰的电影是让人感觉到非常值得去推崇的。
那你这么挺他？
对，
我不同意，我当然不同意。
你说，
蝙蝠侠为什么跟别的那个片子不太一样，对吧？是对自我的怀疑，这就是他贯穿的一个状况。但这个东西其实特别泛。奥德赛不也是这样吗？奥德赛也是怀疑自己该不该回家，该不该这样。那哈姆雷特也怀疑自己。所有的一个家庭剧里面都会有的这样。我经常爱拿我的前半生来举例子，把一个角色和那个朗拿多·迪卡普里奥一样，重塑自我，重新找到自我的故事，没什么区别。我经常讲电影，它应该分为4种，仅仅从视听语言来讲的话，有点小突破，但正好又不超越我们的审美的这个台阶吧，所以说这是有气势。第2种电影是有性格，像黑田明电影或者山帕金帕的电影，还有一种电影是有生命感的电影，最高级的电影它是有命运的电影。其实诺兰应该来讲呢是最低的那一种，他有给你的小思索，给你的小视觉，给你的什么都给你一点点，大家看到了，正好呢。比我的审美高那么一点点，也不高不了那么多。
其实蛮符合这个全球化的审美。
对。
And both in your movies, people are always very ambiguous about his own identity, the fictional world and the true world. Why this kind of things attract you so much? I mean, it's become your major subject to. It's from a kind of philosophical thinking of.
My favorite types of films have always somehow related to the thriller genre. I like that form of storytelling, and because the camera pretends to be objective,
yes,
but it's not. You know, it's very subjective, particularly if you choose to use it in that way. And so, the great masters of suspense like Hitchcock and Clouseau, they understood how to manipulate and how to align an audience's perceptions with one character or another, with their sympathies going to one character or another. And I think that stories in which you can't take identity for granted, even the identity of the narrator. Who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? You know, it's a fun thing to play with.
In the past, you always imagine the future, or imagine the maybe not very concrete things, concrete situation. But now you're facing the very concrete historical place and event. So, I mean, the two imagination are very different for you, or similar? I mean, imagine the
well,
future.
I found it creatively. I found it invigorating because the key difference is that the world of the film, which is something you're normally. The world of the film is something in which, as a writer, I'm normally engaged in constructing from the ground up, particularly in a film like Inception, for example, or Interstellar. You know, the script has to create the entire world of the film and the terms of it. That part of it was already done for me in Dunkirk. That exists, it's real. And so all I had to do was research it and read about it. And so my creative process was then different. I didn't have to build that, I had to explore it. Quite honestly, the feeling of presumptuousness about making a war film as somebody who's never been to war and I mean, it's my worst nightmare to imagine having to fight a war. I had the privilege, and my grandfather was in the Air Force and he died in World War II, and I took my children to go and visit his grave. He's buried in France, and when you look at the gravestones of the people who actually died in this, and you think, okay, we're going to make an entertainment, we're going to make a cinematic telling of war. That's very daunting, and it's difficult to know how to go about that. And for me, the solution was to not look at Dunkirk as a war film, to look at it as a survival story. And that I felt confident of. I felt confident of being able to tell a suspenseful story about survival.
Could or should director be kind of philosopher? I mean, maybe your industry produce your own Michel Foucault, produce your own Nietzsche. Do you kind of see the parallel between them?
Well, I think for me, that would be too much of it would be too self-conscious to look at filmmaking that way. One of the pleasures of talking about the film...
But you are very self-conscious.
Well, not at different stages. So you become very self-conscious when you're talking about the film you've made because you're being asked, you know. For me, I like to really stay focused on the story and the themes of the film. I like to try and do that instinctively rather than self-consciously. And I sort of trust that the way in which I know how to make a film technically, that if there are things that are interesting to me philosophically, that they'll be there. So for example, with Dunkirk, we've tried to make a very intense film and that was really the ambition. And so the film's attitude to war, therefore, for me, had to be not self-conscious. I didn't want to make a film that was an anti-war film or a pro-war film or anything. I wanted to make a film that presented my point of view and enjoy that.
So from the
sounds a little self-indulgent.